was a relentless assault, a sheet of water blurring the already monotonous stretch of highway. My wipers strained to keep up, their frantic action a poor excuse for visibility. The headlights cut through the downpour for a short distance, revealing only more asphalt and the occasional skeletal silhouette of a passing truck. 12 hours. 12 grueling hours of battling interstate monotony in a car that seemed to share my dwindling enthusiasm. My muscles ached, my eyes strained, and the greasy gas station food sat heavy in my stomach, its metallic tang and unwelcome aftertaste. The move to a new state was taking its toll, but there was no time to complain. Tonight I had a different kind of destination. This trip was a yearly promise, kind of sad, but also happy in a way. Finally, a neon sign flickered in the distance. Vacancy. Relief washed over me, tinged with a strange unease. I pushed the car a little harder, the engine protesting with a final sputter before giving out completely. Stepping out into the rain, I was soaked, yet a strange smile tugged at my lips. The motel looked different in the dim light. 10 years ago, this place held joy and laughter. Tonight, it was a reminder of someone special I'd lost, a mausoleum of memories and a gnawing sense of dread. Every year I made this trip like a visit to a special spot. Maybe a bit strange, but tonight, even with the rain and the long drive, I had to be here. It was a promise I made, a way to remember. In the lobby, the air hung thick with a silence broken only by the distant whine of the fluorescent lights. Each flicker cast shadows on the peeling wallpaper. The old building creaked and groaned against the storm's fury outside. Aside from the young clerk and myself, the deserted lobby felt heavy, adding to the unnerving stillness that pressed down on me like a physical weight. "Room 314, I pleaded, the words scraping against my parched throat. My hand trembling slightly pushed a wad of cash towards the clerk, an amount far exceeding the room rate. I needed this room, this specific room, with a desperate urgency I couldn't explain. The young man behind the counter, barely out of his teens it seemed, finally looked up from his phone. His eyes, the color of faded denim, held a weariness that seemed to belong to someone much older. A flicker of concern crossed his face before he glanced at the money. "Sir," he started, his voice hesitant, "we don't usually rent out that room." "Why not?" I forced the words out of my throat. He studied me for a long moment, his face contorted in a mixture of concern and something akin to pity. "Sir, I wouldn't recommend. It's not in the best condition," he mumbled, avoiding eye contact. "I don't care about the condition," I pressed, desperation sharpening my voice. "Just give me the key, please." He hesitated again, his hand hovering over the bills. "There's a reason we—" "Look," I interrupted, my voice breaking slightly. "It's important, really important. I won't cause any trouble, I promise. Here," I added, shoving the entire wad of cash towards him. "Keep the change." The clerk's eyes widened in protest. "I can't do that, sir. I'll get in trouble." "Trouble?" I echoed, my voice low and urgent. "What kind of trouble is worse than what I'm facing if I don't get that room?" The clerk's jaw clenched, and for a fleeting moment a flicker of something steely glinted in his eyes. But then his shoulders slumped in defeat. He glanced down at the money, then back up at me. A silent conversation seemed to pass between us, a weary traveler pleading with a reluctant guardian of a forgotten past. Finally, with a resigned nod, he picked up the bills and placed them in the cash register. "Room 314, he muttered, his voice barely audible over the howling wind outside. He reached under the counter and pulled out a key with a faded red tag. "But just promise me," he added, his eyes locking with mine, "be careful in there." The key felt heavy and cold in my clammy palm, a tangible connection to a past I couldn't escape. With a final nod to the clerk, I trudged down the hallway, the worn carpet damp under my feet. Finding our room, I unlocked the door with a deep breath. The air grew thick with the smell of dust and something else, a sickly, sweet odor that hinted at a past attempt to mask a deeper, more putrid smell. but for a moment I stood paralyzed, caught between the yearning to escape and the promises I'd made to myself. This yearly ritual, a twisted act of love and penance, held me captive. I just stood there, a wave of bittersweet memories washing over me. I fumbled for the light switch, but darkness suited my mood anyway. Every creak of the floorboard, every groan of the building outside, echoed the hollowness within me. This room, with its peeling wallpaper and threadbare mattress, was a map of a love lost, a battlefield of memories both sweet and agonizing. I sank onto the bed, the cold seeping into my bones, a poor imitation of the icy grip of fear that had me trembling. A decade of self-inflicted torment hadn't dulled the ache, the agonizing weight of what-ifs and regrets. Fragmented images assaulted me, the glint of broken glass, the sterile yellow of police tape, a stain forever etched into my mind. A raw sob escaped my lips, a strangled cry that echoed in the suffocating darkness. I almost expected to feel the familiar touch, a comfort laced with a chilling dread. "I miss you," I whispered my yearly apology, laced with love and regret. "I wish I'd come back sooner. I wish I'd been here. I wish—" The unfinished sentence hung heavy in the stagnant air. Then, from the heart of the darkness, a voice, a whisper chillingly familiar, brushed against my ear. "I know, you killed me."